one of the best things that I did was hire an editor. Because editing is so time consuming and I can do better things with my time that will net me more income or allow me to focus on the things that only I can do. Hiring an editor was one of the best things I did for my process. So let's look at some of the pros and cons and things to consider when you are going to hire an editor. First, let's talk about the pros. It's going to save you a lot of time. An editor will be able to do things in a few minutes that will probably take you 30, 40, or 60 minutes. An editor will also be able to perform advanced techniques. So, if you're not quite sure how to clean up some piece of audio or do the trim in just the right way, an editor will be able to do that for you. Focusing on creating content is the main reason that you started a podcast, probably. So, hiring an editor will allow you to focus on creating that content or billable work. Like I said before, my editor, it takes him less than the length of the full episode to edit the podcast, where it would take me maybe 2 times the length of the episode to edit the podcast. So in that 2 hours, I could be doing billable work, meaning what I pay my editor is worth the money. It's actually making me money or saving me money in the long run. But the cons, you do give up some artistic direction. Some podcasters argue that in order for a podcast to be your own, you really do need to do the edit. I don't subscribe to that at all, but the way you would do something is not necessarily the way the editor will do something. Which brings me to the next point. You'll need pretty clear instructions for your editor. You can't just say clean it up or whatever. Especially if you mess up. I always make timestamps for my editor for when I mess up. I say I messed up around 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Can you cut that part out and adjust it? And then finally, it's an added cost. And that added cost can be a tough pill to swallow, especially if you are not making any money off of your podcast. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. First, if you are thinking about looking for an editor, some tips to find one. I recommend checking Fiverr first. This is how I found my editor. They are extremely affordable. They're not going to be $5, but they are affordable and they can do basic edits well. I don't need a lot of editing for my podcast, especially because I spend so much time on the environment, which is a fixed cost, by the way. The amount of money that you spend for room acoustics and the good equipment is generally a one-time cost. Whereas the editing, the more you need to edit, the more that cost adds up over time. So find somebody on Fiverr who can do the basic edits that you need. Maybe it's adding background music. Maybe it's putting two pieces of audio together. That's pretty time consuming for me. So find somebody who will do that for you. Pick a sample episode and send it to 2 to 3 different editors. This is going to be a little more costly up front, but you can quickly determine who the best editor for you is. You're not going to spend a lot of time working with one editor and then realizing that they're not doing as good a job as they could, or somebody else can maybe do it cheaper. And think about the type of editing you want and find somebody who works best for those tasks. Combining audio and basic cleanup is common, but if you want to add more whimsy, like if you want sound effects in your podcast, or if you want, added areas of music that ducks and things like that, maybe there's an editor who is best suited for that. So I think those are some important things that you can do to find an editor. Now, if you're thinking, Joe, I just started this podcast. I'm definitely not making any money. I just spent a couple $100 on equipment and stuff like that. I understand. But there is opportunity cost, right? There's the idea that the money you're spending or the time you're spending is going to have some cost associated with. So let's say that you can do work for, let's just say, $50 an hour. And the editor that you found will edit up to an hour-long episode for $30. I'm willing to bet it's going to take you 2 hours at least to edit a hour-long episode if you're going to scrub through the whole thing, make the adjustments, add the music, do trimming. But let's just say it's 1-to-1. Let's say it takes 1 hour. So you would charge $50 for that hour. Your editor will do the hour-long episode for $30. So you're saving $20 there that you can be spending on billable work. So I would think of it that way. If you are not sure if you should spend that money, think of how you'd be able to spend that time. For me, it was a no-brainer because it took me a long time to edit the episodes. My editor, Joel, edits the episodes in a fraction of that time, and I charge a lot more per hour that I'm paying him. Not because I'm undervaluing his work, but because something that will take me 2 hours probably takes him a half hour. So we have a great relationship there. The same thing with my video editor. The guy who is editing my videos, or the gal who's editing my videos, will be able to do it much more efficiently than I can do it. So just something to think about there. A couple of other tips for working with an editor. And I would suggest just try it out because the worst that'll happen is you spend, I don't know, $30 for a short episode on Fiverr, and it doesn't work out and you realize that you want to keep editing it yourself. But a couple of other tips: be as specific as possible in your instructions. Don't just say things like clean it up or make it sound better. Say, there was like a low hum throughout the entire episode. Can you do that? Or my guest called in on a phone. Is there any way that you can kind of clean that up? I want to add music here. I want to use this pull quote from this timestamp to start the episode, things like that. Be mindful of turnaround times. Some require 24 hours. Some might require a week. So if you are putting the episode together on a Monday and you want to have it out by Friday, make sure that your editor can reasonably do that. Once you find somebody you like, stick with them. They'll get better with your work. Trust will build and you'll communicate better. So just a quick note on this is that my editor and I have been working together for a long time, so much so that I don't feel like I need to check his work. I'll scrub through it. I'll listen to the episode at like 2 times speed just to make sure everything sounds okay, but I implicitly trust him, and so I know that I can publish the episode before I really fully listen to it. And it's integrated into my entire process too. So when I get a new episode recorded, it automatically gets sent to him with my notes and things like that. And then when he uploads it back to Dropbox, it's automatically sent to my transcriber and sent to Libsyn. So the fact that I have an editor that I work with consistently means that I can automate more of that process. And we'll talk about that more later. So something to think about. Hiring an editor definitely adds cost to your podcast, but the value he or she brings is going to be incredible. They'll be able to free up hours of your time that you can then spend doing billable work or focusing on the actual content. So your action item here is to weigh the pros and cons of hiring an editor yourself. Just determine if it's worth at least exploring. Post your thoughts in the comments below or in the Facebook Student Center, and get the take of your fellow students. If there's an editor that you like and you use and you recommend, definitely recommend them too. I'll be sure to recommend mine over on Facebook.